All right, here's the second part of the first problem from our third test in Cal 1. If you remember, we were given the equation f of x equals the square root of x over x squared plus 1. And the first thing that it asked us to do was to find all the critical values for that function. And in the previous video, we went through and found that the critical values were 0 and the square root of 1/3. So now we need to find all maxima and minima over the interval from 0 to 4. Alright, so to do that, we can do the first derivative test, or we just take the values that we found for the to be the critical values right up here, and we just basically kind of make a little chart, and we also include the areas or the values for the endpoints. So to keep it kind of easy, we put our initial function back up here, f of x, because we're going to be plugging our values into this equation, over x squared plus 1. Alright, and our critical values were 0 and the square root of 1/3. And the interval that we're looking for is 0 to 4. Alright, so basically all you need to do to find the maximum and minimum is say x, and we plug in the values that we have for x. Since our interval is from 0 to 4, and so 0 is going to be one of our endpoints, and it was also a critical value, so we can check that one off. And then the square root of 1/3, and also 4, since that is our other endpoint. And since 1/3 falls within that interval, we use it, and 4 is our other endpoint for that interval. And then we have our f of x. So to figure that out, we just take this value, whatever x value that we're looking at, and we will plug it into our function right up here, and just see what we come out with. So whenever we plug in 0, we're going to have the square root of 0 over 0 squared plus 1, which is going to give us 0 over 1, which is going to give us just a nice 0. Alright, and just to kind of skip a little bit, go ahead and plug in 4, so that's going to give us the square root of 4 over 4 squared plus 1, which is equal to 2 over 17. And so we can just say 2 over 17, and if you wanted to actually work that out, that's approximately 0.12. Alright, so now comes the fun part. If you want, what I did, I just plugged it into a calculator, but if you actually wanted to crunch it out, you get the 1/3, 1/3 to the 1/2 to the 1/2. Now that's basically saying taking the square root of the square root of 1/3, and that is going to be equal to, when you have an exponent and an exponent, you just multiply those whenever they're like outside right there. So it's going to be 1 over 3 to the 1/4, and that was over, we had the square root of 1/3, and we're going to be squaring it. So that is just going to be 1/3, because the square root goes away, plus 1. And since we need a common denominator, we could just say plus 3/3, since that's equivalent to 1. And so that's going to give us the 1/3 raised to the 1/4 over 4/3. Alright, and excuse me, with denominators, if you have a fraction inside a fraction, you keep the original number, and since that's 1/3 to the 1/4, the 1 is going to be going to the 1/4, and the 3 is going to be going to the 1/4. When something is to the 1/4, you're taking the 4th root of it, so it's going to be the 4th root of 1 over the 4th root of 3 times, because we're just changing our sign right there. So it's going to be multiplied, and then you flip the bottom fraction. So that's going to be end up being 3/4. So if you take any root of 1 or whatever, you're going to have 1. And since we're multiplying, you just go straight across the top right down here. So we're going to have 1 times 3, which is just 3, over 4 times the 4th root of 3. And whenever you actually crunch that in your calculator, that comes out to be approximately 0.57. Alright, so now we just look at those values, and we erase that just to clear things up. So now we just look and see, what values are the smallest and the largest. And we have 0, so that's going to be the min. And then 0.57 is greater than 0.12, so that's going to be our max. And so for the max and min over that interval, if 0 is our x, that gives us our min, and if x is the square root of 1/3, that gives us our max over that interval.